So hi and welcome everyone to another episode of what I'm growing this week. This week is actually a combination of 2 weeks. I've been super busy with classes and applying for scholarships and internships, so combining 2 weeks. This week we probably won't cover the seeds too much because I'm going to be doing a special episode that's just me sowing seeds, talking about seed sowing and what I'm sowing. So the seeds that I'm growing won't be on the spotlight for a while. And we'll probably do an update episode too on everything that's growing, but that probably be like in December. So today I'm going to focus on new plants that I got over the past month or so. Well, not the month or so. It's been like 3 months of me wasting my money, but well wasted. Um, so let's get started. Down here, I brought in a lot of the plants because we got a frost over this past week. It snowed. It went down to like 29 degrees. Um, Not the best conditions for newly acquired plants. In the back over there, you can see that Miscanthus Eldorado grass is doing good. Right here, this guy is Dornbii burgensii. This is a species that's native to Asia. It's also called the wild pear. The flowers are, and this is a pink form. Usually, the straight species tends to be more white. It's called the wild pear not because it's related to pears, but because the flower actually resembles pear flowers. Really nice. My plan with this one is actually to wall train it, which will probably be a video on its own because there's a couple of these guys that I'm going to be doing similar things to. But to sum it up, it's whenever you get a tree or shrub and you train it on the wall. So instead of letting it grow wide and like how it would in nature, it only grows hugging the wall. That does a couple of things. First off, if you're a plant addict like me and you don't have an acre or two of land to use, you need to consider your space. Um, I have limited space, so by wall training, I'm actually maximizing that because instead of having this plant grow bushy, I am limiting the amount of space it takes up. The second thing it does is that it actually increases the amount of flowers that the plant could have. All the energy, instead of being forced throughout an entire tree or shrub, is now being focused on one single plane of growth, which means more flowers or more fruit, depending on what you're wall training. This one right here is another plant that's going to get wall trained. It's another Asian plant, Bunia linlania. And I bought this one because my father really likes wisteria, and wisteria is pretty aggressive. Um, this species of Bulia butterfly bush has flowers that kind of resemble wisteria flowers. They dangle down. They're purpley, very narrow, not that big, but once the plant gets more mature, I'm hoping that it flowers a lot more abundantly, which will make up for the small size of the flower. Just like other Butlias, this is a great plant for attracting pollinators. It like, and I didn't say this about the other one, the wild pear, are tropical plants. So if it gets really cold, they're going to go deciduous, if not die completely back to the ground. Since they're going to be hugging the wall, I'm hoping that that will provide them shelter and hopefully keep them mostly on the evergreen side of things, but we shall see. This plant right here is a Hispicus, Hispicus motabilis rubrum. It's called the Confederate Rose. It's super popular down south. It's not native to the Americas, it's actually native to China. Has a typical Hispicus flower in shape, but the flower would change color from pink, dark pink to light pink until eventually it turns white, and that's only within the matter of hours. So that's pretty cool. And this one I'm probably going to grow into a small tree. Right here we have oh man, my hand's in the way. Anisodontii Stribing Beauty. They're not. I got these plants from Annie's Annuals, and they're not too sure what species it is. This is a genus that's mostly restricted to the southern hemisphere, so we're talking South America and Australia. It's another Hispicus relative, small pink flowers. It's really, I was surprised I had a lot of native bees on it, particularly a genus of bees called Penstemon, which are these metallic green with their abdomens being metallic yellow and black striped. Really nice, and I had a ton of them all over this plant. The original one died, I think from a bacterial infection, so I'm not going to be planting this guy in the same spot. This one is, the cultivar was found in a botanical garden, Steinberg, hence the name. It's a really nice plant. Okay, what else do we have here? Some of these other plants aren't new. I probably won't talk about them till later. But what I do have, and I'm going to do it now because I'm getting cold, is another order from Annie's. So this is Annie's Annuals. Every time you order from them, they send you a really nice catalog. Has really bright pictures, good descriptions of the plant with some good information, a bit of humor in it too, which I like. They're very on the expensive side, but again, you pay what you get, so they're well worth it. So let's get started. How am I going to do this? My greenhouse is super crowded and there's not enough room for me. Okay, so we start with this one. This plant right here is the Bertia Chilenensis. It's a evergreen iris relative related to Chile, hence the name. It's often confused with another species called grandiflora. They're pretty similar. I don't know what the difference is yet. The genus is like some of the other plants that we discussed earlier. I think it was this one, the Endison, the Hispicus relative. It's restricted to the southern hemisphere, in particular Australia and South America. And the reason behind that is that this plant, along with the one that we discussed earlier, are part of a floral and fauna assemblage that hails back to the dinosaur era, the Mesozoic and the early Cenozoic, when those continents were kind of conjoined. As they broke apart, they were part of a big continent called Gondwanaland. So those continents often share similar flora and fauna, animals and plants. Okay, and put that away. And then down here we have another South American plant. It's a clover. There's actually two clovers in here. This one is Oxalis spiralis volcanicoa. It's a dark leaf form. It will make nibble tubers and spread underground. Really good ground cover. I believe if it gets exposed to too much frost, it will go dormant, but otherwise it should stay evergreen. Has yellow flowers. Well, yellowy orange. They bud up orangey, and then as they open, they turn yellow. I've noticed that with our weedy species of Oxalis clover, that a lot of the smaller butterflies, like the blues and sulfurs, will come and visit the flowers. So I'm hoping this one will have a similar effect. And look at that color. That's really nice. It's nice purple with a fuchsia underside. Really good plant. It will probably prefer a shadier location. I'm not too sure how it would tolerate sun. And I'm planning on putting it in some partial shade. So there we go. So I'm going to put it under there. And I have some plants up here that I'm going to talk about too. So this might be a little bit of a long video. And if you can't tell, my greenhouse is a mess. I need to organize it. Okay, then we have this plant, which is it will focus. Let's see. Lomelosia Croatia. This used to be in the Scabiosa family. I shouldn't say family. Genus. It got moved, I think, because it's a little. It grows into a shrub, a small shrub, so it gets woody with age. It is evergreen, and I think those characteristics were what distinguished it enough to be like, okay, we need to give it its own genus. Because most scabiosas tend to be on the herbaceous perennial side, or they're short-lived perennials. So that is a big deviation from the norm. There's probably some genetic thing too that they did. Most of the time, from what I understand, they do genetic tests before they decide to move them out. Sometimes it's morphological. I'm not too sure. It's a really nice plant. Has the typical scabiosa flowers that are pretty. They're held pretty close to the leaves, but it appears on the top of the bush, so they don't get hidden here. Palish purple, lavender. Yeah, lavender. Let's go with soft lavender flowers. Like normal scabiosas, this one is really good at attracting butterflies. It's scented. And it's drought tolerant. It's native to, I want to say, the Mediterranean. So that one goes down there. Boop. There we go. And I'm not going to be planting these plants because we're already starting to get frost. This week it went down, like I said at the beginning of the video, it went down to like 29 degrees and it snowed and rained. So not the best conditions to expose new plants to. So all these plants I'm probably going to keep in my greenhouse till the winter. I mean, over the winter. And then when spring comes, I could plant them. Because why risk it? I like the way Annie's Annuals packages their stuff. It keeps them organized. I don't see that much spilled soil, and the plants don't end up damaged, which is awesome. Because sometimes the plants could get really messed up in transit. Like, I guess the FedEx delivery guy, he put this box, instead of lying flat like that, he put it on the horizontal. So if they weren't packaged like this, I'm pretty sure I would have gotten a lot of damaged goods. And look at this. They're pretty effective, efficient, effective at how they package their stuff. The rubber bands hold down this little tarp of, I think this is some type of paper. And the paper holds in the soil, which keeps the plant moist. Because one of the things when you buy new plants is sometimes it could take them a while to get there because either the political climate or maybe you just have a really bad branch of the post office. So those plants are then left there. They're not getting water or anything. So it's pretty cool that they put these little the paper on top just to hold in that moisture. And the rubber bands too, making sure that the plants are super secure. Sorry, you guys are getting a view of the door. Okay, so our first plant is a heuchera. I was really excited to see this one. It's my camera will focus. Heuchera rosda. I'm not too sure what the history is behind this heuchera. I know it's has some of. There's a couple of heuchera native to California, and this one has some of that in its blood. The light. The flowers on this is what caught my attention. It's a green heuchera. There's tons of heucheras that are purple and red and brown, all these amazing colors. But this one, it's the flowers. It sends up these tall spikes of pink bloom, and they look, from what I saw in the picture, they look pretty big. So I thought that's pretty cool because most heucheras on the market have tiny pink or white flowers that they're not really that significant. We usually grow these plants for their leaves, but I mean, the flowers on this one is something else. So let's see how it does. Boom. Okay. Now this one I'm excited for. And I'm also kind of curious. This one is called Aster. Oh, shoot. Overexposure. This one is called Annie's Annuals. I guess they collected this on some field expedition they did. They don't know what species it is, so they just calling it Andy and Aster. It's really unusual. From what I've seen, most asters tend to be on the pale side of the color spectrum. They tend to be pinks and purples and whites, pale blues. But this one is orange. It's orange and it has a semi-climbing habit. As you can see right there, it's starting to send out some growth. And that is pretty cool. It has flowers that kind of snake their way do some of the everythings that are growing, which I like. And it tends to flower late in the season, so starting in August up until, I guess, the frost knocks it back. So I'm hoping next year we won't get any surprise snowstorms like we did this year, and this guy will be giving us some nice orange blossom. We could go right there. And then down here, we have another South American plant, I believe. This one is... I could get my camera to focus. Diaceptrara suberecta, or the Ugonian firecracker plant. It's another drought-tolerant plant, silver foliage that has some soft hair to it. I wonder if it smells. A lot of times when you get these types of plants, they tend to have a scent. No, it doesn't smell. But this one I wanted to grow as it's semi-shrubby, but it's more like it wants to hug the ground. So it makes a really good ground cover. But what I wanted it for was for these orange blossoms. I want to attract more hummingbirds to the yard, hopefully by next year. The hummingbirds I've seen in our yard have been mostly the black-chinned species, but apparently El Paso has 20 plus species of hummingbird that migrate through it. So I'm trying to get and see how many hummingbird species I could attract. So that would be really good. Again, it's drought tolerant, prefers to be on lean soil, so don't put in something that's too rich, otherwise it will grow out of character or just rot on you. But yeah, pretty good plant. Okay, we're halfway through. There's another box of beauties. This is another Oxalis, another clover. Seems similar to the one that we saw before, but this one has nice pink sprays in its leaves, and I've seen some coleus that have that type of variegation in it, but I have never seen a clover like that. And it's this really unusual variegation. And the thing is, I could grow a coleus plant in my yard, but it wouldn't survive the winter. This will survive the winter and actually spread and colonize and come back every year. Just like the other one, this plant is a native to South America. Has yellow flowers, which I'm not too sure how that would look with that cover of leaf, but who cares? Again, the flower I'm thinking, I haven't seen it yet, would be like some of the weedy species of clover. It will attract some of the smaller butterflies. One thing I didn't mention is that this species makes tiny little tubers underground, and that's how it's able to overwinter. So if you're ever working on an area of the bed and that's nearby to a clover, be careful because you might be digging up those little tubers and spreading it to new areas, which may or may not be a bad thing. Depends on how you're designing your garden. But yeah, that's a really nice plant and probably best for a part sun position. Okay, the next one is a Penstemon, which I like Penstemons a lot. In my yard right now, I have a couple of native species of Penstemon that I'm growing from seed. A lot of the native species of Penstemon tend to be on the more woody side. They're a little bit more succulent, and they tend to be evergreen. Really good if you're looking for like a small ground covering shrub. Now there's another group of Penstemons that they call bedding Penstemons. These guys are more derived from some of the more herbaceous species that are native to down south, past into Mexico. A lot of them fall into the name Gloxocloides. This one is one of those. There we go. My camera will focus. And it won't focus. There we go. Penstemon Gloxocloides. Dorn is the cultivar name. Whenever you see an X in the name, that usually means it's a hybrid or cross. And this one is a hybrid for sure. This Penstemon has pink flowers that kind of remind me of apple blossom or ice cream with white centers. It's really nice. It's pretty tall, so I'm probably going to have to rearrange this area. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move this guy. And this one could go up here. Pop. Now, here's another plant that I saw it and I was just like, oh, should I waste my... do I have the money to waste? I wasted it anyways. It's a Perseciaria. So Perseciarias are becoming a lot more popular. It's a huge genus. Some of them are a bit aggressive. Japanese knotweed used to be in that genus, but now it's in another one. We all have members in our family that are a little bit more rambunctious or troublemakers, but that doesn't mean everyone in that family is like that. So that's how I feel about plants too. And again, if you feel like, should I take the risk? It doesn't hurt to do prior research or to ask your own fellow gardeners in the area. Have you grown this? Or have you heard anything from your own personal experience? And you want to ask personal experience because people read things online and they think, oh, it must be true. But when it comes to plants, and in fact a lot of things in life, just because it's true in one scenario doesn't always make it true. But back onto the plant. So this is Perseciaria. Amplicliker's golden arrow. If you can't tell, it's called golden arrow because of that bright green, lime green foliage, which I really like. Along with that, it has a late flowering season. Has little red spikes that it sends up. In fall, really good for attracting pollinators late in the year. It will spread a little bit, but it's easy to remove and actually share with your friends. So yeah, this is something I am very happy that I got my hands on. And I'm going to be planting it with some grasses. I've noticed that a lot of people tend to use Perseciaria with grasses, and I like the look, as cliche as that might be. But I think it's going to work out. But I'm going to keep it in a semi-shady area, so some of its neighbors will be a bit weird. In fact, look at that. That looks nice. The clover with the Perseciaria. I might put them together. Maybe. Alright, so we're almost done with these new plants. I don't know how I'm going to get out. Okay. Let's look at this one. What is it? This one is Placanterous Oxalis. I'm probably butchering that. If you guys heard me talk about earlier when I was talking about the clover, I mentioned a plant called Coleus. Coleus is a... oh man, this thing smells. Coleus is a plant that we typically grow for its colorful leaves. The flowers aren't that well. I like the flowers, but most people don't like the flowers. Supposedly it weakens the leaf color. It's typically grown as an annual. And you could look it up. It's Coleus. Well, Coleus, some of the members of that genus go back and forth with this genus, the Placanterous. Placanterous could be found in South America, Australia, and Africa. I think this species is a native to either South America or Africa. I can't remember off the top of my head. This one makes a really good ground cover plant for shade, and it has blue flowers that will be really good at attracting bees and other pollinators. It's in the Salvia family, the mint family, and like most members of that family, the leaf on this has a very pungent odor. It kind of smells like cat pee. But as long as you're not brushing against this thing, I see no problem with it. I like it, and having that blue color, true blue, in your yard, it's going to look really nice. And it's so fleshy. It's like, it's cool. Now we'll go back there. And then right here, we have a plant that I have always liked. And I came up, when I was probably like 12 or 13, I came upon a picture of this plant, and it led me to the Annie's website, and since then I've been hooked. This is what they call the Kuwait Bush. It's a native to South Africa. That's the name. Perseciaria pinnata. It's a small tree. It gets 10 to 15 feet in height, about 10 feet wide. In Zone 8, it is semi-hardy. It will probably suffer some damage if it's exposed. I think my yard has a microclimate, so I think it should be fine, but we'll see next year. It starts flowering in late spring into summer, so it's really good if you're trying to fill up that June gap. Blue flowers, scented like Kuwait, hence the name. In fact, the flowers resemble a native species of Texas laurel, and I think they're in the same family. They're in the pea family, just not the same genus. Really nice plant. You could take cuttings of it, and it's supposedly in California self-seeds. I'm not too sure that's true here. And it's going to look really nice, and it's going to go into a raised bed that I have. That looks nice. And that I might put over there if I wait a little bit. And then last but not least is another blue. If you haven't noticed, a lot of the plants I got were from are natives to South America or in blue. This one is actually about to flower. If you look up OClock vine, you're going to come upon this plant that has yellow flowers, yellow-orange flowers with a black center. It is Bertia. Most people grow it as an annual. I think it might actually perennialize in zone 8 and higher. This species is supposedly hardy to zone 8. We shall see, fingers crossed. And unlike its vining relative, this one is actually a shrub. It's Bertia Chilenensis. Native to South Africa, not South Africa, Africa. Is it Africa or Asia? I want to say it's Africa. Has sky blue flowers. Really, really nice. It's going to go into a shady position. I'm not going to give more details because it's probably going to be in a video next year when I'm planning and making renovating that space. So here we have a fuchsia. This is Fuchsia Procumbens. Most fuchsia are small bushes or not trailing. Yeah, small bushes that we grow as an annual. This one is a weirdo of the group. It's native to New Zealand and some surrounding islands. It's a trailing species. It was flowering earlier. I can't find the flowers, but it's a really cool species. Shady spot. You don't want to let this guy dry out or it will suffer. Up here we have a monkey flower. It's Mammillaus latidinus mega, a California native, pink flowers. This right here is interesting. I need to water them if you can't tell. Is impatient. This is impatient. Oh man, the overexposure. Moving some stuff around. This is impatient. Oh no. Wrong time of day to be filming. Impatiens arguda. When we think impatiens, we're usually thinking busy lizzies. Another annual, but this one is actually a perennial, makes tubers. It has really nice, pretty large size purple flowers. It was flowering earlier, and I guess it dropped it already. Really good plant for shade. Oh, okay. And then right here we have Salvia gregii, royal bumble. Salvia gregii is a native species to the Chihuahuan Desert. It's a woody sage. This one has become really famous. It's a really nice red color. I think it was found in a garden or bred somewhere in the UK, which is ironic. You think we will be being in the southwest, most of the cultivars will be coming from the southwest, but nope. Really nice plant. Typical gregii. And then back here we have another South African plant, and we actually have two species of these. This is Aristia inergalis. It resembles an iris. It's in the iris family. It's not in the genus though. Sends up these tall spikes. Almost looks like a red hot poker, but the flowers open up blue. And we're talking like a deep blue. Of the two species that I have at the moment, this is probably the smaller one. The larger one, let me see where it's at. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. Duh. The larger one is Aristia major. And major is a much larger plant.